There's McKeown!
It's Dayton who goes for it.
A Super Sunday in the SPL came up with a sensational result. The full story will unfold before your eyes over the next 45 minutes. All the Saturday action as well, and Kilmarnock manager Kenny Shiels is with us. That was St Johnstone's first win at Celtic Park since 1999, Kenny, so they'll be partying like it was 1999 maybe tonight. Neil Lennon didn't take it well. These are a couple of his quotes. I don't know where some people's heads are, if they want to be here or not. There were too many players today who wanted to go and do their own thing. Do you understand where that frustration is coming from?
Yes, I can, having looked at the highlights there, and I'm sure Neil's frustrated. But sometimes in football you have to say it wasn't our day. But we can't take credit away from St Johnstone. I wasn't at the game, but looking at that, they've been resilient and tough and hard to beat, and I'm sure they feel as if they've thoroughly earned their result. And
they played two up front, which is a positive way to go, because lots of teams go with just one up front at Celtic Park or Ibrox.
I think if you play two up front, it's the depth of the midfield, you know, will determine whether it's positive or not. It looked like two banks of four, defending as a 9 and trying to get up to the 2, which is good tactics at Parkhead, and you know, you have to give them credit for that.
Should this have been given as a penalty? Derek McInnes certainly thought not.
Oh God, I can't see the penalty there. I can't see it being a penalty.
He gets the shot away, doesn't he?
I think he's done his bit. He's got it over the keeper, but he's not going to catch that ball. But it doesn't look like a penalty to me.
And Chris Commons lost his footing, but I think that's where it was going anyway, and it's a really good save, isn't it, from Enkelman?
Enkelman was tremendous. He's made some fantastic saves, and that's what the goalkeeper's there for, and all the credit to him.
The old cliche says that your goalkeeper's got to do well at Ibrox and Celtic Park, and he did.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and you need a little bit of luck as well, but you know, what a fantastic result for St Johnstone. You know, to go there and want to keep a clean sheet and to get a result as well. You know, it'll give their players a tremendous lift.
They could have scored before they actually did, and it was a former Celtic player, Killie Sheridan, who was almost on the end of this agonising.
I think he's got distracted, his peripheral vision in the post, and he maybe felt he was going to run into the post. Whether that's right or not, but he's made a good run to the back.
Hefty deflection on that from Dave Mackay, not that he was bothered.
I don't think it was going in. I don't want to take anything away from Dave, but yeah, it did take a deflection.
Neil Lennon thought his players were wasteful in front of goal. He said the front six were a real letdown, and as you can see from this, Celtic had loads of pressure, loads of chances in the game.
I'm sure by the looks of it, Celtic have bossed the ball and they've got into some really good areas, and there's a frustration as a manager where you keep missing those chances. But St Johnstone have dug in and they've earned their 3 points.
Chris Commons hit the post last weekend against Dundee United. Same again. Can you maybe put this down as just one of those days?
That's exactly what it was from Celtic's perspective. You know, they've had lots of the play there, and they just can't seem to get it in that. There's a great cross from Commons.
On another day, maybe Celtic might have scored 3.
End product, that's what it's all about, football. And look at this, by brilliant play in the court. Hits the post, falls out.
And then it's just about summed it up right at the end. Anthony Stokes denied again.
Great reaction from Enkelman, yeah.
1-0 St Johnstone, a great result for them, their first win of the season.
A fine finish to a great performance from the champions.
I counted 11 first-team players missing today, I think, for Rangers, Kenny. The likes of youngsters like McMillan, Perry, Wild started. So to win so convincingly against the league leaders is a great result, isn't it?
Oh, well, I'm sure, Ali, you can't blame him for feeling a bit smug tonight, because there's been a lot of criticism, you know, unfair criticism of not bringing in players and signings, and he's promoted from within. And it's great that he's done that. You know, he's brought in the 3 kids and they've performed really well. And you know, he must be feeling pretty good about that.
I was doing the radio commentary this afternoon and thought it was a Jelavic goal that gave Rangers the lead, but it's only when you look at the pictures closely, you see the part played in it unwittingly by Stephen Naismith.
Amazing. I don't think he knows anything about it. He doesn't, no.
But
Jelavic gets across the front and it comes off him and then the Motherwell defender. But I don't think Naismith knew much about it.
But he knew all about it afterwards because he was claiming it.
Yeah, of course. It's his goal, isn't it?
Yeah, as he would.
Yeah.
Motherwell were frustrated when they got the ball in the net. It was Jamie Murphy who put the chance away. Really frustrating for them here because it was a fantastic training ground move, wasn't it?
What a brilliant corner kick, and the movement and the disguise run and the step over the ball. And I think he's inadvertently, you need to understand, they bring out these readings of the game and the referees have to stick to the directive. And does the ball play the hand? I don't think so. I think it's bounced up. It was probably a miscontrol and he's inadvertently controlled the ball and he's put it away. So I would like to ask the referees what they think of that one.
What killed Motherwell today was two lethal counter-attacks from Rangers. This one in stoppage time at the end of the first half, just when Motherwell were looking as if they might square the game, suddenly 2-0.
Horrible time to concede, but Kyle pulls off to the back of the defence. He's good at that there, and he's finished, brilliant finish. There's no real other, he hadn't much margin to put it in there and pulled off the back, and that's precision, unbelievable finish. He had no room.
And again, Motherwell on the attack here, and again it's a one ball over the top from Stephen Davis, and this is game over for Motherwell.
Pace of Wild again, he goes across the keeper, outstrips the back four, and he's in. I don't think Motherwell hadn't conceded before the game. And there it is, fresh legs, across the keeper, well done.
And a 3-0 win for Rangers. Let's see now how Kenny's Kilmarnock fared at home to Hearts today. They had Edinburgh opposition last weekend as well and blew Hibs away.
Great ball. Heffernan's got a chance here for Kilmarnock. Dayton twisting. Turner gets it across. It's an own goal. It's Dayton who goes for it and rattles it into the top corner. Who sends it in? Heffernan. 4-1 Killie.
Hearts this time for Kilmarnock, and Paul Mitchell was at Rugby Park.
Lucas onto Buijs. Scott Robinson's got some space. They're backing off him. Not the greatest of shots from Scott Robinson, but it is an early test for Cammy Bell. Dayton into Buijs. Good play from Kilmarnock. Played through by Kelly. Onside for Heffernan. Heffernan goes across, chips it in. Too much weight. Plenty of support inside the box. The striker reading the pass, kept himself onside despite Andy Webster's protests. He just clipped this one with a club too much. Dealt with again well by Pascali. Robinson. Lucas Buijs. Tidy passing from Hearts, that's a free kick. A little bit heavy that time. Ryan O'Leary into the back of Stephen Elliott. Hamill is 2, the former Killie man. Almost catching out. Cammy Bell seemed to take an extra step to his left hand side, expecting more swerve on the ball. Kenny Shiels delighted with the opening to the season made by his side. Under pressure here, the header from Ryan Stevenson would have been deflected away by Andy Webster. Stevenson not picked up, and it did hit the chest of the Hearts defender. Again Dayton is the target, but again Hearts mop up the Buijs. On to Andy Driver away from Buijs. Things could be opening up for Hearts here. The cross is important. Elliott with a header off the bar, and Pascali gets it away before Scott Robinson can get an attempt on goal. Well, he nutmegged the full-back. Head down, then looked up, saw the target. Elliott made it almost perfectly. Bell was beaten, but not the bar. Pascali, that's a great ball from the back. Rory McKeown, the left full-back, cuts it inside. Chance for Gary Harkins. Seemed to meet it on the half volley and send it spiralling over the crossbar. It's a great start to the second half though from Killie. Good football. A look of concern from the Hearts manager. There's Elliott. Well, that looked a little soft. Anna just seemed to be standing behind him. Elliott went to ground. Granger favoured to take it. Great power. Good save. A second attempt from Stevenson. And away by Pascali before Elliott could turn it home. What a free kick from Danny Granger. Plenty of power. Fisted away by the goalkeeper. Got the follow-up. And Pascali saved his side. Templeton, no way through. Lovitz sends it wide. On to Hamill, that's good clip inside. And Jimmy Fowler knocks it over his own crossbar. Hearts finding some space on the right hand side through Hamill. It's he who takes the corner. Abua breaks off Lucas, that comes wide onto Rudy Scatchell. And it hits Stephen Elliott inside the 6-yard box, who may well have been played onside if could have deflected this on target. Scatchell's shot looked like it was going wide. The Hearts will out a win in the last 8 SPL away games, looking for the opening goal. Ryan Stevenson. Stevenson clips it through, comes on to Scatchell. Elliott is offside, won't count. Hearts thought they had the breakthrough with 8 minutes to play, but the flag of the assistant, Stuart Stevenson. Scatchell hooked it towards goal. Elliott was offside.
Kilmarnock play some great football. It's a common perception that you've continued Mixu's football philosophy, but I rather fancy it was maybe yours in the first place anyway.
Oh, I don't think that's fair in Mixu. No, I think it was combined, and Mixu has the similar philosophy. But can I see some of Kilmarnock's attacks? I thought it's funny when you reflect on the game and you look back in the afternoon and say, well, it was a decent game of football, and you know, we try to entertain as much as we can, and some, like today, we weren't as potent as we were last week, but there was 2 different mindsets going into today's game, and Kilmarnock were coming off a 4-1 victory, and we just didn't seem to click today, you know. And Hearts are coming off a 5-0 defeat against Tottenham. They got a lot of unfair criticism, and they were resolute and determined and worked really hard and shut down our space. Sometimes, you know, albeit was quite physical, but...
Did they dish it out today, Hearts?
They did, and if you do it within the letter of the law, that's okay. They picked up a few bookings, not for me, you know. I think they did, they overindulged a bit, but having said that, it's the referee done his job, and it ended up 0-0.
James Dayton is a real handful. He was a handful for Hearts, and maybe that was borne out by what you're talking about, because 2 of the 4 yellows for Hearts today were against challenges on him.
Yeah, there was, most of our attacks were broken down like this, and there's another one. But that's not an excuse. It's just a justified reason, you know. And sometimes they get away with it. I think the referee's remit is to let the game flow and help develop flair, but that wasn't the case today. There's a penalty kick. He pushes him with his right arm.
Or not, because it wasn't given.
It wasn't given, correct. So some days you don't get them, other days you don't get them.
Great win for you last weekend, 4 goals against Hibs. But you were saying to me this is not necessarily your best performance of the season.
I wouldn't say it was our best. It was certainly, I felt at Dundee United we were very tough and worked really hard, and that was a tough game for us. But there's a brilliant finish. 1 cross from a left back, and the other cross, the goal that Heffernan scored was a cross from the right back, which we encourage. Great skill by Dayton, puts it into the near post, and as I said to Heffernan, if he doesn't make that run, we don't score. Again, the full-back was fouled just outside the box, and this is a cross from the full-back on the other side, Danny Buijs. Great ball in, and brilliant movement by Heffernan.
The great news is that Kilmarnock are still unbeaten this season. The bad news, both for you and for Ryan O'Leary, is that he's picked up a bad knee injury, I understand.
Alec, my physio, was just sent me the message to say that it's a cruciate injury, which is 6 months, and I really feel for Ryan, because he's had a couple of injuries in his career. He's worked his way back. you know, and psychologically he was really up for this season, and now we have to try and manage his coping strategies and how to deal with this. James Dayton obviously will be a big help to him, and you know,
because he's been through it.
He's been through it last season.
Yeah.
Darren McGregor, St Mirren, it's a horrible injury for a player because the rehab is so tough, and we've got a great backroom staff that can deal with that.
Let's hope Ryan makes a full recovery. We've shown you the best of Sunday in the SPL. The Saturday games are next. Letting in Scott Vernon.
He's made a horrendous mistake there. He's looking for movement. There's no movement to play out, and he's dwelled on it. I think he slipped there. But a brilliant finish by Vernon. Very cool.
So Inverness at the bottom of the SPL with just 1 point. They've played a lot of good football, it seems to me, this season. I keep seeing them creating lots of chances every Sunday night in this highlights programme. And in yesterday's game, pretty similar. This was chalked off and then brought back for the foul on Foran.
That's very unfortunate, and they're having a lot of bad luck at the moment. And you know, there's so many things that happen. You get the trends in football where you hit a spell where nothing goes right for you, and this is a perfect example of it here again. And it affects the confidence, you know, when you get beat, unlucky to get beat, and then you feel that the whole world's against you. Look at that. Inverness, I had a report in yesterday's game, and by all reports, even in the first half, they gave a good account, and they've finally got a goal back, but it's too little too late.
But I suppose what you're saying is true, that you can only be unlucky for so long, and then it begins to play in people's minds.
Exactly, and you know, I'm sure that Terry is starting to wonder has he run over a black cat, because most of the games they've been quite. I watched them against Motherwell, and up until half time I couldn't believe it. And Motherwell's gone in and they've won the game 3-0, but it wasn't as convincing as that, and no. Stuart McCall said that in his post-match press conference. But I feel that over the season, you know, you get your luck, and it'll come and go, and it ebbs and flows like that, and certainly it'll change for them.
As long as their luck doesn't change next weekend when you're in Inverness. Well,
they come down to Ayrshire in midweek, so I'll do a bit of spying on them for the League Cup. But certainly, you know, after next week, I don't mind.
And it just hasn't been United's day in front of goal.
34 league games left for Dunfermline. I'm sure that's the point that Jim McIntyre would make. But it's a really good start, and it just takes a little bit of pressure off for them newly arrived back in the SPL.
They've got momentum. They've the bit between the teeth. What a result that was. To go to Dundee United and come away with 3 points, there's not many teams can do that. And I think since January, they've went a lot of games, you know, undefeated at Tannadice, and what a brilliant result for Jim. He's done fantastically well.
Yeah, sure have. Two big moments in the match, the goal obviously, but Paul Gallagher's goalkeeping as well. This is a fantastic save, isn't it?
I think the standard of goalkeeping this weekend has been unreal, you know, and again, Gallagher, what a save that is. And Dundee United are probably wondering where we're going to get this goal from, but he's saved 2 penalties this season, and
this has come through a ruck of players as well, isn't it?
What I think it's instinct. And look at that. Surely he can't see that ball coming through so many bodies.
What was interesting about the goal is this is 85 minutes. Dunfermline might well have been holding on for a point at that stage. They wanted all three, didn't they?
Yep. Paul Burns from Cumnock, he's played for Queen of the South last season. And what a brilliant finish coming on to the end of it. Making a forward run so late in the game. Yep. Great result.
So a win away from home in Tayside this weekend. On Tayside last weekend against St Johnstone, they won as well. 6 points out of 6. Couple of draws to get things going. These points are like gold dust, aren't they, at this stage?
I watched Dunfermline in the first game against St Mirren, their first game up, and I think Jim would admit they didn't look too clever that night. But my God, they've kicked on since then. You know,
yeah, I wasn't sure they had a lot about them that night.
I felt that at the time, but having watched them since, they've started to gel into the league really, really well, and they've got the momentum. And when you get momentum and sustain that, you form good habits.
Unlike your team, still unbeaten, Dunfermline. St Mirren have been good to watch so far this season, although they suffered their first defeat last weekend at home to Motherwell. Could they bounce back against Hibs at Easter Road? Jonathan has the answer.
Colin Calderwood.
You were at that game yesterday, Kenny. There's a refreshing desire, it seems, in the SPL with quite a few teams, including your own, to play attacking, expansive football, and St Mirren are one of those as well, aren't they?
St Mirren have done the league proud this season. They've come in, and Danny's come in with fresh ideas and wanting to stimulate the way they play, and certainly he deserves a lot of credit. And I could see it yesterday. There was periods in the first half when Hibs were in cruise control and they were dominant, and they got their goal, and then they made 2 mistakes. And you know, St Mirren in the second half were tremendous. They played really well in the second half, kept the ball, and were patient in their build-ups, and I was very pleased with St Mirren. I felt a bit, you know, that at times that they were passing the ball and the movement was there, and they were getting shots off. There was penetration in their play also. Very, very pleased for them.
Hibs, as you say, made a big contribution to their own downfall, didn't they? Credit to Tesselar on both goals, but, well, firstly, Callum Booth, following this corner kick, Booth gets it all wrong, doesn't he?
I think he's very left-sided, Callum, and he's came across, he's a very young player, and the good thing long-term is that he learned from this. He just feels uncomfortable on his weak side and misreads the bounce, and great presence of mind by Tesselar, passes it. Thank you very much. And I'm sure that the Hibs fans know that the second goal, Colin's been trying to get a right back, and he's played a midfield player at right back, Paulson, and this is like a midfield situation where he stays on it when loses his concentration. Again, Tesselar, and bingo, they've taken the lead within 3 minutes.
Hibs are struggling at the moment. I think Colin Calderwood would concede that, not helped by your own team thumping them, of course, last weekend. One big plus for them, though, is the finishing of Gary O'Connor. He scored all 3 goals for them this season. Ryan Essen should probably have done better with this one, but the other 2 show what he's capable of.
That's instinct. He just goes across the keeper, and he's clinical, and he's a strong big player, and here he does it again. This is a great finish. Improvisation, scoops it over and off the far post. Great finish that was. And here he is again, determination, gets a couple of lucky bounces. Keeper overcompensated at the near post, but really good finish. And you know, I do feel for Colin, because he works hard and he wants them to play the right way, and he's playing people out of position. You know, the midfield player playing right back, and he lost Towell, and he lost the boy Michael Hart through injury, and he hasn't been able to fill that position.
OK, let's have a look at the Clydesdale Premier League as it stands. 2 on top, Rangers and Motherwell on 10, Celtic 1 behind, Dunfermline and St Mirren on 8, Kenny's Kilmarnock have 6, Hearts and Dundee United 5, St Johnstone and Aberdeen 4, Hibs on 3, 2 ahead of Inverness at the bottom on 1. Next weekend, it's 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday again. Dunfermline against Motherwell. Kenny has that trip up to Inverness to play Callie Thistle. St Johnstone against Dundee United. And Sunday for the first Edinburgh derby of the season.